allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Woo! All right. All right, so to kick things off, I am going to be bringing on someone tonight who is running for Congressional District 4, hailing all the way from Chandler, Arizona. Please welcome Kelly Cooper.
Left, like 14, 13, 5. Oh man, I got work to do. So we got 5 days left before we get to start fixing America. Is anybody ready for that? We feel like we put a lot of work in for these last year and a half, 2 years, but the work really just starts in the beginning of January. The planning starts on Wednesday. Moving forward, making sure that America gets to move forward for the best interest of you guys, absolutely. For the best interest of all of you in the room, it starts Tuesday, right? So before I go too much further, I want to introduce at least a few people. So Aaron, Mason, Kennedy, if you could stand up for just 1 second. So I'm not standing here in front of you without them. This doesn't work without my family. It's really my driving force, but it's also my foundation. It's my rock. This is how I get to be who I am. And so I thank them. Next, how many Marines in the room? Semper Fi! So I may not see another Marine before a week from today. Everybody know what the greatest holiday of the year is? That's right, it's the Marine Corps birthday. It's coming up on Thursday. Hey, listen, I know we all think it's Election Day, and that's a great day, but the Marine Corps birthday, man, that's something special. All right, so I am a Marine. I think you got that. I'm a husband, a father. I'm a business owner. Those of you that don't know, I own 3 restaurants here in the state, 2 of them in this district, and I sign the front of about 100 payroll checks every 2 weeks. So as we talk about the issues that we're facing today, rising gas prices, the economy out of control, inflation, these are all issues that I've dealt with and had to deal with on a pretty regular basis since I was old enough to work, really. I started washing dishes and working my way through restaurants. But managing and mastering P&L, cash flow statements, this is who I am, and this is why I'm uniquely qualified. I'm also a world-traveled Marine. I've been all of South and Central America, Cuba, South Korea, Italy. Being able to experience different governments and the effects that it has on the people is also something that I'm not uniquely qualified for. Some of the Marines in the room will tell you that. But the combination is something that's rare in Congress. Well, having any business background is rare in Congress, but having business background and military is exceedingly rare in Congress, and it's something that I believe that we need to move forward. So I promise you this, I will work to bring back energy independence. I will work to rein in the reckless $6 or $7 trillion worth of spending that's happened. Now, it doesn't mean that we didn't spend some of that money on some good stuff, but it was about this much. The rest of it's on liberal wish list items that are driving inflation today. So we have to rein that back in. But the third thing for fixing the economy, I think one of the biggest pieces is really, and you saw this back in the Reagan administration, was lowering regulation. Because those 3 things in combination is what turns the key to the American engine and drives production and productivity through the roof and brings back the prosperity that we all deserve and we all know. Now, my opponent, on the other hand, 6 times stood on the House floor and voted against energy exploration or refinery production. My opponent stood on the floor and blocked Title 42 from coming up for discussion, thereby preventing it from being codified into law, allowing for our borders to remain open. How many of you saw the debate? Okay. So we need better penetration. So when you go home tonight, you're going to be on this high. Take that half an hour, look up PBS and watch the debate, because Greg Stanton, we called him Stutterin' Stanton after that, because he got called out. And I'll tell you, Greg, if you've watched any of his prior debates or any of his prior campaigns, he's won by 22 points. He's never been challenged, not when he ran for mayor, not when he ran for city council, and not in his prior 2 congressional races. So Greg is now in the fight of his political life. And I think this guy thought he was going to be president one day. Not with what he's done so far. So as we talk about those issues, you know who I am, you know what I stand for, you know what Greg has stood for the last 2 years. After you're done watching the debate, you can take my word for this because I'm not encouraging you to go to his website, but on his campaign site today, it says, and I quote, "My number 1 priority in Congress is making your life better, and the results speak for themselves." I didn't add that. That's literally on his website. It says the results speak for themselves. Now, if this is what he thinks good results are, I ask you, Greg Stanton, step down from this race, because you don't deserve to represent the people of Arizona's District 4. These people deserve somebody that cares about them. We deserve somebody that's not just slinging mud. We deserve somebody that slings solutions. So I stand before you as somebody that, according to Greg, I have to grind down my horns every morning, and maybe that 5 o'clock horn shadow. But the truth is, most of you have seen me now, most of you know. So this election is going to be the power of 10. So as I pass this mic on to the next person, I ask you, please, the only way that we flip this district is if all of you goes and find somebody outside of this bubble, somebody in your neighborhood, find 10 of them, and make sure that they go vote. Because right now, we are toss-up. And I promise you, if we all do that, I will win by at least 3 points. When we get done on Monday, I don't want anybody to be discouraged when the polls open on Tuesday, because we're going to be within a couple of points, probably the margin of error. But as you watch ballots roll in from same-day voters, because that's all of you, that's all of you. By the end of Tuesday, it will be clear that your voices have spoken and that you demand new representation. And I hope to be that new representation for you. So, my website's kellycooperarizona.com. If any of you have $1 million, feel free to put that in. Greg has spent, I think, between $10 and $15 million. And for those of you that aren't sure, we spent less than $1 million. And what that signifies is that message matters. Message matters more than money. You can't be bought, and DC can't buy this seat away from you. So let's all show up. Let's make sure we get this done. And you'll have a bright future, the future that I believe that we can have, that'll represent and reflect the past and the greatness of America. So, God bless all of you. Semper Fi to all of you. Does everybody know what Semper Fi means? Always faithful. Always faithful means that I will stand faithfully to all of you and make sure that I do the things that I said, and any one of you can hold me accountable. Half of you probably know where I live at this point, and all of you have my cell phone. I know some of you know where I live. So God bless all of you. God bless America, and let's take back our nation. Next up to the stage, I'd like to welcome your next Secretary of State, Mr. Mark Fincham.
We have a limited number of them back here for $25. Yes, we're trying to raise money for the campaign, but President Trump has described this as perhaps one of the most stylish pieces of tchotchke in the country right now. All right, you might wonder have you seen some of these? I want to have our folks from Hawaii please stand up. They're waving to us in the back, okay? They flew here to put lays on their favorite candidates. Right? So, y'all know that Arizona is considered to be the lifeboat of the nation, and they're from Hawaii, which is permanently fixated on being Democratic. Why, we don't know, but perhaps they'll take the Republican attitude back to Hawaii with them. And not that it's not there. Obviously it is, because we got these. So, how many of you are on Twitter? I'm curious. Show of hands. Okay. You just took my punchline. So have you heard the story about me being banned? Okay. That doesn't sound like a lot of people have. So Monday, I was on my way back to Arizona from Orlando, Florida, where they had an election integrity hearing, of all things. And by the way, they found out a bunch of signatures that were an exact match were actually an exact duplicate, not an exact match. Imagine that. Yeah, instead of it being free-flowing ink, it was dots. Yeah. They're turning that over to the election integrity police in Florida, which, thank God, Governor DeSantis set that up, because they are going to clean house. That's what we're going to do here. So apparently, one of my posts out on Twitter offended somebody in the bowels of Twitterdom, and they banned us. They put us in Twitter jail. And then they give this little snarky comment, well, you know, it usually takes about a week to get reinstated or longer. I'm like, okay. So we put that out in a notice to all of our constituents, and Jenna Ellis, my good friend, goes out to Twitter and says, hey, Elon, what's up with this? His response, immediately, by the way, I'm going to look into this. 41 minutes later, we were reinstated. But wait, there's more. We started the day with 52,000 followers on Twitter. Not that I really follow it all that much, but, you know, we throw a post out there every once in a while. We're now up to 74,000 and some change. This is an example of every single time the Democrats, I was going to call them our opposition, but let's call them what they are. Every single time the Democrats come out and try to do something to control the narrative, it backfires. That tells me God's hand is on this, because what was intended for evil will not stand. It's always converted to good. Now, I will also say there's a couple of, I don't know if they're still Republicans or if they're actually the Democrats that they, I'm guessing, always have been. But there are a few high-profile Republicans who have called me a dangerous man and decided that they were going to endorse Adrian Fontes. Okay, so I'll ask you, Who's more dangerous? A guy who arrests people for breaking the law, or a guy who was arrested for felony flight, reckless endangerment with a motor vehicle out of ASU? Who's more dangerous? That one I don't know about, so I'm not going to assert that. But I will tell you this. I was called a dangerous man for one reason. I asked the questions that all of you asked me to ask on November 30th, 2020. We held a hearing on election integrity, which many of you, I think, probably already know about. But you're the ones who hired me. Not the Speaker of the House, not the governor, not the President of the Senate, not my colleagues, the constituents. Now, if I'm your next Secretary of State, which I hope you will trust me that far, I'm going to ask that in the future, if a Secretary of State is running for a governor office, that they be required to resign to run. Is that perhaps the ethical thing to do? Well, it's not in law. So the current Secretary of State ain't going to do it, even though she is the senior elections director over all elections. That's kind of like, to use a baseball analogy, the guy who's up first to bat is also the umpire. What could possibly go wrong? So there's a couple things that I believe in, and I think most of you already know this, but I'll recite it for the good media and the fake media. Paper ballots, hand counting at the precinct level on election day. Now, I've actually had some people tell me that that is an irresponsible proposal. So I'm going to put it to a vote. What's more irresponsible, that proposal, or continuing to use a machine that we cannot validate the software, we can't inspect the software? It's run by unaccountable, unelected government contractors who have a level of security over elections greater than the very people that you elected to run elections. Which one is more irresponsible, A or B? Thank you very much. I would like to introduce a crucial player in the future of this state. While I am going to endeavor to hold people accountable to just follow the law, count every legal vote, I am also going to refer every single act that is outside of the law to our next Attorney General, Abe Hamadeh.
We have 4 days to save our country right now. And believe me, you see them back there, the fake news media back there? Look at, they are running scared. They're running scared because they know their power and influence is waning because we have an army that's ignoring them right now. Just the other day, the Los Angeles Times, they had all of our faces on it saying Arizona could be paving the way towards authoritarianism for the rest of the country. Believe me, we're not tyrants, we're liberators. The real tyrants are those who shut down our churches, our schools, our small businesses. The Believe me, it doesn't just end on November 8th. That's when it just begins. Because when the Democrats and the media, when they lose their power, they're going to resort to different tactics. They're going to try to shove their agenda through big tech, through big business, through big banks, through our classrooms, and through the media. And when I'm Attorney General, I will fight them in the courtroom. I will fight them in the boardroom. I will fight them in the classroom, and I will fight them in the newsroom. November 8th will be the media and the Democrats and the ruling class's day of reckoning, because we've had enough. We've had enough of a wide open border that has fentanyl destroying our communities and 250,000 unvetted illegal immigrants flocking in. We had enough of releasing criminals on our streets instead of putting them in jail. We've had enough of their failed democratic policies. And all they do is try to peddle this narrative that we are domestic terrorists. Believe me, we are proud Americans and we are patriots. And if you look around us right now, the other day, the fake news back there, they said I was promoting white supremacy views. Let me tell, I'm the son of Syrian immigrants, believe me. But if you just take a look around right now, look at this. I mean, it doesn't matter what race you are, where you come from, what social status you are. Because ultimately, we all believe in the red, white, and blue American flag, and that's what we're defending right now. So Arizona, we got 4 days to save our republic. Are you ready? Are you ready for a safer border? Are you ready to put criminals in jail? Are you ready to fight back against the Biden administration? So we have to elect Mark Fincham as our next Secretary of State, don't we? We have to elect Kari Lake as our next governor. And I'm so proud to introduce to you this next speaker of ours. He's going to be one of the toughest fighters in the United States Senate. You all know him. He's going to be there with Dr. Rand Paul prosecuting Dr. Fauci for what he's done to us. And with that, everybody, let me introduce to you your next United States Senator, Blake Masters.
Guys, are you guys ready to send Mark Kelly back to space next week? Bye-bye, there he goes. I think they're freaking out. You know, I've caught him in the polls. I've seen so many polls now that have me tied with Mark Kelly. I'm beginning to wonder if the pollsters, they're all scared to be the first one to show me in the lead. But that's fine. I like being the underdog. Look, we need a red wave badly, right? We need Republican up and down. I think we're looking at a statewide sweep here with this energy that we're seeing. And my guess is y'all are pretty excited about Governor Kari Lake. She's fantastic. You know, my only complaint about the way that race is going is we don't get to see Katie Hobbs debate Kari Lake. She's just a little bit too much of a coward to face Kari Lake on the debate stage. Although, I think we can understand why, right? Katie Hobbs, not the smartest person in the world. However, she's at least clever enough to know what Kari Lake would do to her on the debate stage, right? Ooh, it would be a spectacle. Katie Hobbs refuses to debate Kari Lake, although at this point, I think Senator Mark Kelly is wishing that he refused to debate me. I had fun debating him. We put him on the ropes, but he had the hard task of defending his record. It's indefensible. So, of course, he was going to struggle. And his campaign is struggling. He and Katie Hobbs both, they're floundering, right? How sad was it that they had to drag former President Obama out of retirement? They had to dust him off and bring him to Arizona. Please, sir, come help invigorate our floundering campaigns. But, you know, Obama, hey, look, they almost filled up a high school gymnasium. Almost. A lot of energy in that room, right? When President Trump comes to rally with me and Kari and the team here, man, we do it in an open field, and it's just Arizonans as far as the eye can see. But hey, it's you guys. But you know, Obama's presence there was really a giant distraction. A distraction from who wasn't there. Who doesn't come out to campaign with the candidates? Joe Biden. They shipped, and I understand why. I understand why Mark Kelly's trying to put distance between himself and Joe Biden. It's strange because he spent the last 2 years rubber stamping Biden's agenda in D.C. But again, he's clever enough to know how unpopular Biden is. They ship Biden off to Florida, states where they can't possibly win, make him think like he's doing something. It's really sad, right? But what Biden and Mark Kelly have done to this country, man, it just boils my blood. Does it feel like the Democrats are doing this to us on purpose? Look at what they did to our border. It would be bad enough if Mark Kelly and Joe Biden were trying hard but failing to secure our border. That would be costly enough. Well, friends, they're not even trying. They surrendered. They surrendered our sovereignty to the Mexican narco-terrorist drug cartels. They did it on purpose. You know what the cartel's profits were in 2018 from human smuggling? Not quite. $500 million. Still too much? Guess what it is now after 2 years of Joe Biden and Mark Kelly's policies? $13 billion. That's a 2,600% increase. Mark Kelly and Joe, I'll tell you what, if the Mexican drug cartel terrorists, if they could vote in this Senate election, 100, hopefully they're not. Assuming they're not. Tell you what, if they could vote, 100% of them would vote for Mark Kelly. Because in Senator Kelly, they have a good business partner. He gives them everything they want. Our border has been eviscerated under Joe Biden and Mark Kelly. Mark Kelly could have put a stop to it. He was the 50th vote in the Senate. But he said, nope, open borders, that's totally fine with him. So we have 300,000 illegals crossing our border every single month. Joe Biden and Mark Kelly have helped the Mexican drug cartel traffic more than 4.5 million human beings into our country in the last 20 months. And the fentanyl that's coming in, it's killing our kids. I've suggested, I think Senator Kelly should have to attend some funerals. Maybe that would give him a greater appreciation for the consequences of his open borders policies. When I first said that, some people in the media said, Blake, that's too harsh. Do you think that's too harsh? I don't think it's harsh enough. Let him look a grieving mother in the eye and explain to her why he couldn't be bothered to lift a finger to give us border security. Of course, I wish that were the only crisis the Democrats in charge have caused. They've also destroyed the economy. Again, we don't have time to go through it all, but man, they surrendered our energy independence. Well, when they made energy too expensive, just by declaring war on oil and gas, they made everything too expensive. Every product you need to live takes energy to make and to move. So that causes inflation. Well, you know what else causes inflation? Printing and spending $6 trillion in the last 20 months. It's just crazy what they've done. I feel myself being depressing here. Sorry about that. But I'm also just being honest. Our backs are against the wall. If we don't play our cards right here, we are 5 days away from losing this country forever. But guess what? We're also 5 days away from winning it back. What do you think? I want to thank you all for being the red wave. Thank you for being the grassroots army. Get out there and vote. Who's already voted? Excellent. That's about maybe half. Who's waiting till Election Day? And they say the red wave is dead. No, my friends, it is not. So drag your friends to the polls. Let's get Mark Fincham in there. Let's get Abe Hamadeh in there. Let's get Kelly Cooper in there. send me to the U.S. Senate. We're going to retire Mark Kelly. I promise you, I will always work hard and fight for you. I will fight for Arizona families. You know who else is going to fight for Arizona families? Your next governor, Kari Lake. Ladies, she's coming. She's not here yet. You messed with my flow. It was going to be so good. The handoff was going to be so good. How much time do we have? Should I tell some stand-up or comedy, you know? Hey, let's take a few questions until Kari's ready to come out. Who's got some questions here? Yes, sir. Are you guys getting tired of the federal government sending Ukraine $10 or $12 billion every 6 weeks? I really am. You know, first it's a question of prioritization. Why can Mark Kelly find $50 billion to secure Ukraine's border with Russia, but he can't find $10 billion to secure our own border with Mexico? Also, of course, I worry that Biden is just sleepwalking, stumbling. He's like a zombie, stumbling us closer to nuclear war. Guess what you didn't have to really worry about under President Trump? Nuclear war. My gosh, all that Biden's just trotting this out casually. It's really scary. I think any intervention in Ukraine should be narrowly tailored to get Russia and Ukraine to the negotiating table, right? We should all pray for an end to that war. But if we just pour oxygen on the fire, and remember when Rand Paul just wanted a spreadsheet? He's like, hey, if we're going to send this money, I guess I can't stop you, but can we get a spreadsheet to see where it goes? Can we get an inspector general to make sure we're not fueling corruption or paying off people or somehow getting us further enmeshed in conflict? No, the establishment shut that down. So I have very serious reservations about Biden's policy here, and I'm going to be a voice of sanity on this in the Senate. Yes, ma'am. Yes, and I'll do you one better than that. I've stopped using the word accountable. I think a lot of politicians use it. How many times have you heard it? We're going to hold this person accountable. Well, to me, it almost seems at this point like a tell. It's like the opposite. It's a weasel word. To say we're going to hold you accountable means we're not going to do a damn thing to you. I've said I think Fauci deserves to see the inside of a prison cell. We will investigate him. I want to know what he knew and when. What did he know about the EcoHealth funding, the EcoHealth Alliance, funding the Wuhan Institute of Virology, where they made this lab? I want to know what Fauci knew and when. God bless Senator Rand Paul. I'm honored to have his endorsement. He's a friend. He's got Fauci to perjure himself on the stage already. Right, so we can at least get Fauci for the process crime of lying to Congress. But my guess is, with a real investigation on the origins of COVID and this coronavirus, my guess is we can probably get Fauci on a pretty substantive crime too. Yes. I promise I will. I promise I will. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for being here. How great is it to see young Republicans, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you. Good job, Mom and Dad. You're raising her right. Good job. Yes. Thank you. I would love to stay and answer questions, but probably instead of seeing that, you'd much rather hear from Kari Lake. What do you think? Ladies and gentlemen, your next governor, she's so amazing. This time next week, she'll be Governor-elect Kari Lake.
I don't even see them. That's a good thing. Oh, they're back there behind all the people, we the people. This is amazing. Ahwatukee, they told me this is a Democrat part of town. They told me this was a Katie Hobbs part of town. Whoa, this is amazing. Thank you. I've always loved Ahwatukee. I thought the quality of life here is great. How's the quality of life? Good? Woo, I see a little girl there. You want to keep it good, right? We are doing this for you, these precious kids over here. How many mama bears do we have in this crowd? How about papa bears? I have to tell you, we're jumping into politics. Not that we have time and we can barely get the lunches packed in the morning. I mean, I remember putting like 2 cheese sticks and some crackers in there and thinking, well, at least their stomach won't be empty. But we realized that, and I'm looking at a mama bear here, we don't have the option of just sitting on the sidelines anymore. We've got to get in the game because they're coming after our baby cubs. And we're not going to let them come after our children. We're tired of it. I just learned something today that, when you get into politics, first of all, I had no intention of ever getting into politics in my life. As a matter of fact, when I used to anchor the news, when I was a fair journalist, I used to say to my co-anchor, John, who in their right mind would ever get into politics? You have to be crazy. And here I let the people of Arizona talk me into getting into politics. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks a lot. But I'm happy to do it because I have little ones like you guys do. And they're going after our kids. I heard something today about Katie Hobbs that absolutely shocked me. First of all, we already know she's an open borders person. When she was in the legislature, she voted against a border wall. She voted against a virtual border wall. She voted against the strike force to help us protect ourselves from what's happening at the border. And at the same time all that was going on, we found out that she sponsored. Now, when you sponsor a bill, you're putting your name on it. That means you're super proud of it, right? Is that right, Wendy? If you sponsor a bill, you are so proud of this that you're putting your name on it. The bill she sponsored was going to introduce sex education starting in kindergarten. That's what she's about. Now, I'm going to be honest. My father was a public school teacher. God rest his soul. He was a football coach. He taught history and government. I'll tell you what, he would be shocked at what's happening in our schools right now. No kindergarten teacher. Any teachers in this room? You did not sign up to be a teacher. Thank you, by the way, for your hard work. You didn't get in, that's right. You didn't get into teaching probably to get rich, although I do think you need a pay raise and a big one. But you didn't get into teaching, especially if you're a kindergarten teacher, to talk about sex with 5-year-olds, right? This is why we're losing good teachers. This is why we're losing good teachers. Today I found out, as she's pushing things like gender affirmation surgery, which is a nice way of saying mutilating our children. You know she's for that, right? And she's for it against mom and dad's will, behind mom and dad's back. I learned why today. We just found out her husband is a child psychologist who specializes in transitions for children. We found this out today. It makes sense now. It makes sense. Why would she push this stuff on our beautiful babies who are perfect, but her husband's making money, brainwashing our children into thinking they can be a different gender than they were born? It is sick, it is twisted, and we cannot let this monster anywhere near the governor's office, guys. And I wonder if the fake news will cover it. Katie Hobbs' husband is in the business of transitioning our children into a different gender. Let that sink in. I don't think they will, because you know what? I bet they're not parents. And there is a force inside a mama bear. And I know many of you know what I'm talking about. And a papa bear. Have you ever seen the video? I'm going to think about videos I've seen in the past where a child, a tragic incident, a car rolls over a child, and you see a video of a father, regular guy, lifting a car off a child, superhuman, like Hulk strength, or a mom and a dad lifting a car, and you go, how did that happen? That is that mama bear instinct inside of us. And the left has gone and done the stupidest thing in the world. They got between a mama bear and her baby cub. It's the most dangerous place you can go in nature, right? And we will not sit idly by while they try to brainwash our kids. We will not sit idly by while they talk about things that are never to be talked about with our children, like sex education in kindergarten. And this is why we need some common sense. And this, I'm not trying to be mean. I love all people. I feel for people who have confusion like that. But don't push this on our children. Their brains are so malleable. I mean, we think about the power of suggestion. There's a whole billion-dollar industry called advertising that uses the power of suggestion. It is powerful. And to use our children's minds and fill it with stuff that's just completely inappropriate. We're not going to take it anymore. We're going to finally start giving our kids a proper education. I promise you, we will restore a quality education for our children. Are you for that? Good. I'm going to age myself. I'm going to age myself right now, and I'm looking around this crowd. There's a few people my age or older who will understand. Remember when in high school we used to teach real life skills and work skills? Who's old enough to remember? I don't even want to admit it. I'm old enough to remember that. Wendy and Hal are like, yeah, we remember that. We're going to bring that back. We want a dual-track education. Yes. We want a dual-track education, so after 10th grade, our kids decide, do they want to go the 4-year college track? And if so, that's great. We keep them on that path. Or do they want to get trade skill training, vocational training, and career certification in high school so they're ready for the high-paying jobs that are out there? They want to do that. And the beautiful thing is, how many of you work in the trades? I think it's the most noble of professions. These are the smart ones out here. They're probably not in a whole bunch of debt either. And you could probably work 80 hours a week if you wanted to, right? You're in demand. The beautiful thing about that is you go into the trades, you can still decide to go to college, but you always have that to fall back on. Some of the most amazing people I've met on the campaign trail started in the trades. They have an HVAC company now, and they're an electrical company. They have a plumbing company. They're the smartest and the richest people I've met on the campaign trail. And they tell me, Kari, we need more workers. And I always use the point when I was down in Tucson, in the Vail School District, just outside of Tucson. They have embraced vocational training in their high schools. This is what's going to save our public schools, guys. They've embraced it, and you can go and get culinary arts. You can get medical. You can become a CNA. You can get welding. I always remember the welding class because the kids were so happy. First of all, they're welding. How cool is that? I mean, they're like smiles on their face. The instructor said we had to grow this the first year. It was so popular. And he said, look around this schoolroom. Every single one of these kids will graduate with their diploma and a full-time job offer, 100% of them, making $70,000 to $100,000 full benefits. Wow. That's more than the Arizona governor makes, by the way. So maybe I'll take a side job as a welder. But I say this because what is the purpose of educating our children? It's not to bide time, to get them out of our hair, although occasionally we appreciate that when they're out of our hair, if we admit it, right? The point of educating our children is to prepare them for the opportunities that are out there. Prepare them for the future so that when they graduate, they're ready for the real world. And there are real-world jobs out there. Majority of the real-world jobs that pay well do not require a college degree. I'm not here to tell you not to get a college degree. If you choose to do that, that's fantastic. And while we're talking about college degrees, who's ready to get rid of this woke curriculum at ASU, U of A, and NAU? Good. I sent my son off to college and I said, Leo, please don't come home with, purple hair and, hating your parents and hating America. He's actually a pretty solid conservative. And I joke a little bit, but that's happened to a lot of parents. Heartbreaking to hear a parent say, I sent my son or daughter off to college and I don't even recognize the person who came back. We want our kids to be properly educated, ready for the real world, right? We fund those universities, and we want them to teach a real education. We need a lot fewer underwater basket weaving, gender studies professionals, and we need a whole lot more kids who are ready for the jobs that are out there. So let's start doing that. So there's a lot on the line. I know Blake talked a lot about what he plans to do. We've got to vote Republican up and down that ticket. We really do. There's a lot on the line. We need a transformational leader right now, not someone to come in and take baby steps. How do you take baby steps when we have a guy named Joe Biden who handed control of our border over to the cartels? You can't take a baby step. You've got to take a decisive action and protect the border and take it back from the cartels, and we're going to do that on day one. And there's a reason that these guys are writing 100% negative stories on us, on me. 100%. I was shocked when I heard that. I read the story this week. Apparently some group studied all of the mainstream media, and they said, of course the Democrats get treated like they're brilliant when they're not. And the Republicans get treated awfully, but that's not a surprise to us. 87% of Republican candidates are getting negative coverage by the fake news media. But there was something shocking in the story. They said there's one candidate out there who's getting 100% negative coverage by these guys. Guess who it was? Yours truly. The good news is we're not listening to them. We're not listening to them. We've pulled the curtain back. We see what they're about. Let me ask, and I want you to kind of look at the media when you answer this, when you answer this question. How many of you really don't care what the fake news media says? Give it some noise. You just don't care. I talked to, my husband told me, I talked to my husband today, I talk to him every day because he's on the campaign trail with me. But he took our sweet little pug, Sushi, out for a walk this morning, and he had my hat on. Not my hat, it said Kari Lake for governor. And he said, I got stopped by so many people who were like, yes, I voted for her, I'm gonna vote for her. But he talked to one guy who said, I voted for Kari, and I am so vocal on social media. He said, in 2020, I was afraid to speak out. I didn't want to be canceled. I didn't want to have a client get mad at me. I was worried about ruffling feathers. He said, we don't have any more time on the clock. We got to speak out right now. Who's ready to speak out to save their country? It's not always easy. It's not. I spoke out. Obviously, I got real vocal. I worked for 27 years covering the news, and if you had me on in your home at any time during that period, I thank you. I feel this relationship I have with the people of Arizona. And when I walked away from that, I had seen how the media treated President Trump, unfairly, attacking him, just horribly, a guy who gave up so much. And I thought, well, surely they won't do, they just didn't like him, but they would never do that to me. I worked with these people, right? Sure enough, sure enough. And I've lost some friends, but I'll tell you what, the patriotic, America-loving friends I've gained will make up for any friend I lost 1,000,000 times over. I see many of them here. I see many of them here. And that's what it's about. Our family is who loves this country. Our blood, we have our blood relatives, obviously, but we also have a blood with DNA in it from our founding fathers. And our founding fathers are counting on us right now to get out there and vote and get out there and save this republic. Who's ready to do that? Who's going to show up like their lives depend on it? You know, I can go through all of my policies, but I think if you've been following, who's been following me for a few months? Okay, good, thank you. For those of you who haven't, I'm gonna make it real simple. We're gonna secure the border, we're gonna stop the cartels, we're gonna stop the drug runners. We are going to do everything in our power to stop the most dangerous drug that is flowing through Arizona and poisoning our young people in this country. Hardest thing, without a doubt, has been being on the campaign trail. And I can't even tell you how many times this has happened. So many times I've lost count. Moms and dads who come up to me, and you see it in their face, and they say, it's always after the event, and they grab you by the arm and they say, I lost my son. He was 17, he took a pill. My daughter was 22 and she took a half of what she thought was a Xanax pill. And they're gone. Think about what we've accomplished in our lives from 17 on or 18 on. You don't get these lives back, and we're losing thousands of young people. I will do everything in my power to fight this scourge of fentanyl coming into our country. I promise you. We are going to fully fund our police, and we're going to fill those ranks so that we have plenty of police. When we call 911, they show up quick. Now, I know Ahwatukee is a bedroom community. It's a lovely place, but we've all seen the homeless population increase. I'm sure you've seen it here. Shocking. Everywhere. Everywhere here. I'm the only candidate in the country with a policy to tackle chronic street homelessness and restore life to the hardworking Arizonans who pay their taxes and want their parks back. And because these people will say, she's not compassionate. I'm actually very compassionate. It is not compassionate to allow people to fester on the street living in a tent with a needle in their arm. And we've been allowing that to happen for far too long. We need to get these people help. We're going to ban urban camping. That's the nice name for tents on the corner. We're going to get people help. We're going to use tough love to get people help. We've got to lift these people up, and we can take people from the depths of despair and turn them into contributing citizens with a life worth living. I've seen it with my eyes. God did not envision us living in despair in a tent. And it's not compassionate to prolong that misery. It is not compassionate to continue to pour money into programs that are enabling people to use drugs and fall deeper into despair. And I'll tell you who it's not compassionate for, you, the hardworking people who pay your taxes. You want your kids to be able to ride a bike, not worry about it. You want to use the park down the street. We are going to tackle the big problems. We're going to tackle them all, and we can do this. And I want you to know before we take off tonight, because I know how many of you have to get up early with the kids tomorrow? Okay, how many of you are tired? I know I am. 520 days on the road across this beautiful state. It's been amazing. It's been amazing. I've loved every second of it. I've loved every second of it. But we are going to do the big things. I'm not in this because I want to be governor. I want the fame and fortune. I've already had fame. It's overrated. There is no fortune in being governor. If you're getting rich in politics, you are corrupt as heck, right? I'm in this because I love Arizona. I drove across this country, too many years ago, almost 30 years ago, and I was so welcomed into Arizona. It felt like home immediately. I want so desperately for my kids to have those same opportunities that we had. And we know it's changing. We see it. We're seeing blue states where people are fleeing and they're coming over here, and we welcome people. I'll tell you what, the Californians that I talked to on the campaign trail, they grabbed me the hardest. Do not let Arizona turn into California. We just uprooted our lives. And we won't. We won't. We're going to do big things. And I want you to know that we've got to start bringing God back into our lives. Who's for that? That's right, Mama. Mama Bear. We've got to bring God back into our culture. We've got to bring him back in. We cannot get through this without God. We can't do it. And we're going to bring God back in. And that same God that parted the Red Sea, that same God that parted the Red Sea is with us right now. And God is looking down on us saying, I picked every single one of you to be here at this moment in history. Every single one, from that beautiful sweet girl waving. He picked her. He picked this lovely lady with the Blake Masters shirt on. He picked you and you to be here at this very moment. Because we are put here to save this country and to save this state. And it's going to start right here in Arizona. So let's go out and vote on Tuesday. Who's ready? Take a friend, take the kids, and let's save Arizona. Thank you, Awatuki. I love you.
Good evening. My name's John Highbush. I have the honor of being the executive director of the Reagan Presidential Foundation. Oh, thank you.